a person down, unfortunately. Maestro is struck down with some kind of illness. Hopefully, he will be back with us next week. But yeah, well wishes to him. But hey, three of us, I'm sure it's going to be carnage. And as you guys can see, I'm at the bottom because whatever goes on, I'm here to keep the parliamentary procedure, officiate,
Parliamentary
and just
procedure.
be calm. So you guys have at it. And if it gets too rough, that's when I step in.
Yeah, well, it's a shame Maestro's not here because it seems he had a lot to say earlier, and he
I was
seems
about to say he's docking you, and he's docking the
he's,
smoke.
he's ducking me, man. This man are ducking me.
The argument in the chat would have been ripe, like a big pair of melons for tonight. I'm telling you, I would have loved it. They would have been bursting. The juices would have been bursting out with his beef tonight, and now it's not happening because Maestro's pulled this sickie,
Yeah, it is what it is.
like a Coley.
Oh, oh.
Oh,
Oh,
well, I
are
mean,
we gonna, where we
let's start there.
starting?
Let's start there. Since you brought it up, I mean, what's going on with what's going on with your boy?
My two husbands, I tell you what, it's just gone crazy. But first of all, good evening to the chat. Thank you for all joining us. You know what it is, Philip. Come on. I don't know, but we're going to start here. So yeah, good evening to the chat. Thanks for joining us. You know what to do. All the magical stuff. Share, subscribe, etc., etc. We're on a three man or a two man and a one lady band, but I think it's a good point to start off with the boys. Obviously, heavy impact card. It was rolling around nice and quick. Danny and I did a quick. I jumped onto Danny's live when everything was announced. Heavy impact is turning into low impact because we've lost a couple of fights off the top. Albeit, though, to be fair, boys, the Hergovich fight, and I'm sure we can discuss that, is more, I think, more dangerous because you don't remember what his backhand was doing to Daniel Dubois. He was getting peppered. I don't know how much of that Joyce can take, but we can go on to that in a bit. But then all of a sudden, we had, Lawrence putting his bits out, putting Richard Riakporhe up in his modelling shorts, saying, we are not the same, etc., etc. And then within 24 hours, it's announced that, that fight's now off because young Lawrence has suffered an injury. I don't know what the injury is. I have asked the question, but obviously they're not going to tell me, are they? They ain't got no right to tell me, ain't got any obligations. That's for the promoter. So Richard is now apparently searching for another fight date, because he's not a Frank Warren fighter. So Frank Warren's not obligated to keep him on the card or look after him. But we have had some good news has been announced. As what's come from it is Fabio's vacated the British, and now the two young lads, Jamie Takivi and David Adelaide, are going up for it, which I like that. So we've got Hergovich, really good replacement, dangerous replacement in my opinion, and then obviously the boys are now fighting for a British title on that card. So all is not lost, even though I was looking forward to the banter between Lawrence Okoli and Richard Riakporhe, even though it has been Lawrence Okoli's sort of been the one that has been selling the fight. So that's what I mean. He was running it his mouth the most, doing the most, selling it. And then all of a sudden, he's got this injury and he can't fight. I don't think he's ducking. That's just me playing a game.
Well, sure. Who knows? I mean, look, as I was saying before, it went from being like a major debut. It's looking a little bit Apple. And for anyone who doesn't get that reference, I'm talking about Crumble. Everything seems to be dropping off that card at this point in time.
Mm.
It's a bit of a shame because I was looking forward to it, and Frank deserved the big night. Now look, Hergovich obviously joining Queensbury now as well as being on that show. Look, I know Eddie Hearn tried to play it off. I think it was in an IFL interview a couple of days ago. He's kind of had it off. We haven't actually had a contract or done or had anything with him for like those last two or three fights,
Yeah.
which also therefore brings into question why he was on their 5v5 team. Um, that also goes to show you that whole 5v5, I said from before, it was very much engineered towards Frank winning. And considering the fact Eddie had to now, technically he's told us, he had to draft in two people
Yep.
that weren't even under contract to join his ranks because of the weight classes that were chosen. that's another story. But yeah, look, Hergovic versus Joyce, pretty, good fight. Okoli falling off the card. I did a little video on it the other day. Look, I hope, and the joke is when I now say, well, I hope he's injured. That sounds
In the
very.
nicest possible way.
Yes, I actually hope that there is no shenanigans going on and he is legitimately injured, but it's an injury that he can get over fairly quick. But in the video that I put out the other day, I said, I think that if you come off of a card due to for a medical reason, technically you should get the same kind of medical suspension that you get for a knockout in a fight.
So 28 or 45 days.
Whether it's 30, 45 or something along those lines, just so, I mean, you can't then come out of a contractual obligation and then jump straight back into a next fight, like say 2 or 3 weeks later. That's not really, because then that kind of, makes a mockery of it. It disrespects the other people that were putting in money towards their camps, etc., etc. And I didn't say that as particularly just to like Okoli. I just think that's a general thing that I would say. I think that's how it should be. But there's rumors about where Lawrence could potentially be positioned for next. So look, I guess we have to wait and see on that. But it feels a bit funny when you're doing all the most in terms of the promotion and selling the fight and having serious banter with your opponent, and then you end up pulling out. It kind of makes you look a little bit like you didn't want it. Now we know that's not the case, or at least we believe that's not the case, but it's speculation, isn't it, I suppose.
It's because the WBC things come in almost at the same time. That's why, base. It's like, do you want to risk losing your ranking there? I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm saying that's why it looks sus.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that. I've said that, so it's not like I'm being two-faced about it. I've actually said it.
Yeah. As we spoke on Thursday, it was October. Thank you for gracing the live watch along of Kenshiro Taraji versus Akui when we spoke about it, and as we were saying, it just seems very convenient that the exact same week that he's been put in the number one position is the same week, literally the day after he's put up the shorts of "We're not the same," "Always in my shadow," and that was sending the internet going mad.
Yeah, it
People.
was.
Henry was acting like he didn't know. This is the first time he'd seen that picture. People was asking, "Is this real?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. Is AI or something?" On the very next day, Lawrence pulls out, but then I saw that day, it seemed like he was on a yacht or something with Joe Gallagher walking in. So I don't know. I don't know what's gone on exactly. We need a statement. Richard Riakpor's not having it. He thinks
This youth.
this youth is shook and he's scared to fight all of a sudden. So yeah, but Lawrence is going to have to come out because he came out of a firebomb the day before, and to pull out with an injury the day after.
But that's why I don't think he's in. That's why I do believe he's injured. Because why would he run his mouth like that?
I don't know. Well, let's yeah, as Base says, let's hope in the nicest possible way that it is legitimate. But a good thing is that we've got TKV versus David Adelaide for a British title, because that was kind of being the fight that was going under the radar a bit. And I think that this fight's actually going to be a good fight and a good clash of styles here.
Horrible fight that is. Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. Hergovic fighting Joe Joyce. I think this is actually a harder fight for Joe Joyce now, with Hergovic's style, a boxer landing in 1-2s through the middle, where Joe Joyce has his hands too far out in front of himself. So it's going to be a bit difficult. And it doesn't even have as much profile because Hergovic is coming off a loss. Dillian Whyte is a fan favorite with the nation. But yeah, hopefully Richie Riakporhe does get an opponent. He said, I saw a statement today. He said boxers in the process of getting him a fight. So
yeah, he went high with the public post. I would have went low.
Yeah, he took
He
the high.
took the moral high ground there, and I was like, I wanted him to say something stink, but he didn't. He kept that for his stories, but it's cool because I screenshotted it and put it on my page anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, he definitely took the moral high ground with that one, and just addressed, Team React for like the supporters and stuff. So yeah, let's hope he
Very
gets
professional.
gets out soon.
What do you think of the suspicion by Beats? Shout out to Beats if you are watching. That he said that
Oh,
he
what's he
thinks
said?
that Okoli may potentially be very undisciplined now that he's no longer having to be at cruiserweight, because he said his weight, the way his weight is fluctuating and it's going so heavy so quickly, seems like he's almost
Oh,
gone off the wagon. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that video
oh, I
today,
haven't seen it.
and he said
No.
because he said it's unprecedented to see a cruiserweight ever weigh that heavy, in general, let alone in
After,
that
well, he said after one fight, because they have been that heavy before, but
in
yeah.
that short space of time though, because he weighed what was it, 23 for the Bridger, and then he just went boom, another 30 something or 40 something, 40 pounds or something like that to 261, 262. So it's
Okay.
like, and before that, I've obviously alluded to before, when he was, working in Burger King or McDonald's, he was very heavy. So how big was he then? And is he now, because he doesn't have to make a weight restriction, he's literally eating the exact same foods he was before he started boxing, and he's like got a bit out of control with it. Um, don't know.
I don't know. I really don't know. I know that he said he was going to try and come in lighter this time. For well, obviously, will his next fight, and that was before the Richard Riakporhe fights, and that we'll have to see. Because I mean, what's his injury? Nobody doesn't know. How long is it going to take to rectify? Who knows? But Beats has got a point, because obviously he would study the weights more than I would. So, but with me, I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh, you're
Mm.
being very diplomatic tonight, Red. This
No, no. But when it comes to the weight, seriously, I really wouldn't know, because both of them. The thing is, when I spoke to both him and Richard, they were both like, "Yeah, I can eat now," and they were more or less saying the same thing. But it just seems as if Richard's obviously probably eating, but eating as in nutrition, where maybe Lawrence was eating and just eating.
Yeah,
So, and that's the difference, isn't it? I keep saying this: just because you're a heavyweight doesn't mean you can eat whatever the hell you want because you want to be heavy on the scales. You've still got to eat in accordance with being an athlete. Because if you're eating sluggish food, you're going to lose all your explosiveness, or your, what they call it, short twitch fiber muscles. All of that, it's all going to go out the window based on your diet.
hostage.
So yeah,
mm.
you still need to. If you're an athlete, you still need to eat properly. But that's just my opinion.
Well, we went out when Richard came out with me, Craig, John Ryder, and
Oh, that
Lex
must have been nice.
out in Belfast. We went to the
Light
Ivy.
flex, isn't it? Light flex.
Oh, stop it. Went to the Ivy for a post weigh in dinner, and yeah, he had a balanced meal. He had a ribeye steak, and
Did
um,
he have it rare? I want to know how he has his meat.
he had it medium to well.
Oh, thank God for that. Thank God for that.
Yeah,
Thank God for that.
yeah.
That's warmed my heart. That has.
Okay.
Sorry.
So there's a hope for Red there.
There's hope, because I don't want to hear rare. I'm sorry
No,
for
no,
those
no. He
that
didn't.
like their meat all bloody and that. Fair play to you. That's your thing. But thank
No.
you, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
amen.
I had mine just straight medium. Uh, Straight medium. What's up?
Right.
We
Did you
know
see
how
Star
that
Fox
we know
was
how
coughing?
Daddy likes his, really.
Oh, stop
Oh
it!
God! Look, do you
Stop!
see this?
Stop! Stop!
So breaking news: a Cody team have reported Lawrence has done his back in lifting Burger King order from the drive-through window.
Oh, where's Skyliner? We see Star Fox. Skyliner's coming in
He's not.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not too far behind.
because it's the same person.
oh mate. Okay, so now that we've kind of gone for, yeah, so look, quick one on Hergovich and Joe Joyce. It's
Yeah.
yeah, look, it is a good fight. Obviously, we don't know what Hergovich has left, but he has been
True.
training for a while. He put out some training videos back towards the end of last year,
Oh,
showing
did
that he
he?
was in the mountains and like he was, on the heavy bag and stuff. So I expect him to be coming in and around the similar weight that he
Mm.
was, and obviously he's taken this fight due to I guess he feels like he's in shape and he knows what the prospect of Joe Joyce is.
Mm.
Does Joe Joyce even have the same relentless pressure that he used to have? I'm not sure, because with the extra size he's put on, he has become decidedly a bit more um, slow, a bit more sluggish, and he's a bit sort of slower to react. All of that may play into Hergovich's hands, um, but yeah, it's gonna be a very difficult one. But again, it's another big heavyweight on the Frank Warren roster. I mean, at this point in time, we might as well have to call him Hoover, because he's just vacuuming up
Mhm.
everything in the
That's what
division.
I said to him. Called him the Dyson.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie's in problems. Oscar's in problems. Although I know in America it's not as big of a thing, but even like Top Rank, Ben Shalom. I mean, yeah, everyone just by the wayside. They might have to all band together like the Avengers to stop him at this point, because he's got the entire heavyweight division sewn up. And as they say, where the heavyweights go, the
Where
game
the
follows. Like,
Yeah.
so, shout out to Frank.
Oh, you know what, Base? When you've said that, I've read somewhere, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen it on Twitter. Is Dana, this TKO thing?
Dana White.
Allegedly, they've mentioned every promoter, or they've mentioned Oscar and Hearn, and not Frank Warren. Or is that me just seeing things again? Has
Uh,
anybody? Did he do a live space or a MySpace or something or whatever it
I
was?
mean, he might have done a live speaking about some of them generally, but I didn't see that. But I know that
Okay.
Turkey did a live,
Yeah.
and he said that there's, this. He said that the TKO their thing is going to be a separate thing for
Yeah.
now. It's not, there is. He said there's still place for every promoter. There's still place for every sanctioning body. There's still place for every belt. This is going to be some. He said this will be something separate, but I will divulge, like he said, nearer the time. So ultimately, I guess for the time being, the fears that this is going to try and eliminate everything at the start is wrong. So it's like it's going to be insular. So it's going to be the boxing's
Yeah.
version of the UFC. It's going to do
Yeah.
its own thing while it's in there, while it's building up people. I'm assuming, and then they will fight for whatever belt that they create in there, whether it's the ring belt or whether it's a TKO belt
Yeah.
or whatever. And then maybe they will either draft more people in down the line, or they will just keep it as that thing to sort of build up a new sport within boxing. It might almost be like a subsection. So, like a proper version of Misfits with actual athletes and proper boxers.
No, I hear that, but the thing is, it's all well and good saying that they're going to be involved, but the initial thing was we're going to crush them. So that's obviously what started the spin of everybody saying, "Oh, what's going on?" I understand that you might have rectified that now, but initially it was like, "Yeah, we're not coming to take part."
Yeah, but
So I
Turkey's always
understand.
said that though. He's been saying that he's gonna crush competition from the day he walked in. He said it about Eddie. He's even said it about Frank before. They all say, look, don't take him too seriously at his word. He likes to have fun, and maybe there's a certain level of dominance in Saudi fun that we don't understand. Maybe
Maybe, no,
that's their level of banter. Maybe the truth is always said in jest, but maybe it's just a case of no,
and
no,
that I agree
like
with.
I have this is the plans, but for right now everything's all good. So until then, hey, we keep it pushing.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I know some people, because it was kind of the day after me and you spoke,
Yeah,
October. When I saw the statement, some people was like, "Oh, he's back. Look at Turkey, he's backtracking now." Um, but as I said, I thought it was going to be something like a new sort of league of like a misfits, or the slap, power slap,
yeah,
whatever.
which is what Bay said. Yeah, more like
Yeah,
a yeah,
yeah, because that even Ty Mitchell's fighting Idris Virgo for the the world heavyweight or light heavyweight Misfits Pro title.
yeah, yeah.
So you can
It's
you
in
can do
house.
Yeah, it's in house. You can have a world heavyweight title or world title in any league you want. And it seems like even with Frank Warren, he has so many heavyweights. He could start his own league
You bloody well could, couldn't he?
in heavyweight. So hey, you know what I mean? Big up Frank. So
Do
yeah,
you
I think
think it's giving people kick up the bum though? Like when I say people a kick up the bum, the governing bodies from the regular belts, as the normal belts, so we call it, where they're sort of like, I mean, look at the potential now of Parker and Usyk Parker.
mm,
It's almost like, yeah, we better pull our socks up here because otherwise, we're going to get the rug pulled from under our feet. Do you think it's created a bit of a knee jerk reaction with that? I
Well,
personally do,
to
but
be fair, the WBO and the
yeah,
IBF have always kind of been fairly on point.
IBF. I didn't know the WBO was,
No, the
but
WBO are normally quite on point. They
okay.
will allow, obviously they can be a bit they can allow sort of things to take place and say, okay, well look,
Mm,
you can do this, do that, but their thing, I don't think there's been a WBO mandatory in the heavyweight that's been settled since I think 2021. I think Usyk was the last
wow.
WBO mandatory. So they're saying, they put the interims in place so the undisputed could take place. But now they've said, well, look, we've done that. We allowed you to do that. We even gave you the grace period to do the rematch that
You
was in
agree?
the
Yeah.
contract. But
Mm,
now we're setting aside our thing. The IBF obviously they had their technical mandatory
mm,
when Usyk then had to give up, vacate, or gift the belt to Dubois and AJ, however you want to phrase it.
yeah.
Um, so now Dubois is ultimately supposed to be on the hook for a mandatory, but as we saw the other day, there is no mandatory participant for the IBF. The WBC are the only ones that pretty much are a law unto themselves. They've already stated we will not get in the way of any big fights, unifications. And for some reason, they're the only organization that have said that an interim belt, an interim champion can actually unify their interim title with a full title of another organization. No other one has said that except the
Yeah.
WBC. But that's just their way of keeping their
The
their
fun.
fingers in all the pies as they
Mm,
like to do. Then the WBA, that's a whole different story. But I won't get in and bore people on how that works. But they've got three people to sort out before they can have a next mandatory in their ranking. So yeah, there's some time. But yeah, the WBO is next on the hook. Um, I mean, are we gonna? Should we stick on heavyweights before we talk about what's
yeah.
happening
Why
on the
not?
weekend? All right. So right. So the reason I bring that up, so I've seen a couple of reports recently. So they're saying that the WBO, now that they've ordered, the quote will be that there's one of two options. So either Joseph Parker may be offered some form of step aside, or Frank might have to try and get involved and say, look, we want to do the undisputed fight with Daniel Dubois. But from what I've heard, so I've heard two different things. I've heard that the Usyk and Joseph Parker fight obviously could be happening next.
Hmm.
But I've also heard that Usyk could drop the WBO belt to Joseph Parker.
Okay.
And then Parker, supposedly, I've heard, will then face Anthony Joshua
Yeah.
for that title. And then Usyk will face Dubois, obviously, for three belts. And then the winner of those two come together to do an undisputed final. And that would obviously be Usyk's final fight. As he said, he's only got two fights left that he wants to do. I've also heard that, well, actually, no, I haven't heard this. This is what I'm speculating is about to happen here. So I think that a lot of people don't particularly want to see Dubois and Usyk just yet, especially considering that Dubois hasn't defended the belt against somebody. Obviously pulled out of the Joseph Parker fights,
Yeah.
trying to go straight into a unified / undisputed fight. A lot of people aren't really having that. They feel like, Parker deserves his chance. They feel like Cabello deserves his chance. So here's how I kind of think it's going to play out. Speculations, and people put it in the chat if you agree or if you see any other speculations yourself. I think that Joseph Parker and Usyk, that will happen because Usyk won't want to drop another belt. He likes obviously to be undisputed, and he I don't think he's ever ducked an opponent yet.
True.
So Usyk will face Joseph Parker. In the IBF rankings, there is no number one contender right now. So Daniel
Right.
Dubois does not have a mandatory.
Okay.
However, Derek Chisora is number 2. So he's technically,
Yeah.
he would be the secondary mandatory because they haven't done a final eliminator for the main one. It was supposed to be Bokoli versus Ajagba, but because Bokoli got knocked out, he's gone down to number 10 in the ranking. So his fight with Ajagba will no longer be a final eliminator.
Shit.
It will be an eliminator, but then they'll have to have another fight afterwards with either Frank Sanchez or Anthony Joshua for a final. Probably be Frank Sanchez. Now, I believe, especially after the fight with Otto Wallin, Derek Chisora said he wants Usyk, Joshua, or Dubois for his next fight.
He did.
Everything points to him being number 2 in the rankings, Daniel Dubois getting a voluntary against Derek Chisora, while Alexander Usyk and Joseph Parker settle up on the other belts. So then they can then go into that unification. It allows Frank to have one of his people possibly in prime position to be in unification if Joseph Parker can win. And then that's an in-house fight
Again.
for Queensbury with no involvement from anyone else. If Usyk wins, then you still do the undisputed, and Frank still has the opportunity to
One of
get
his
that.
fighters.
Plus, Ajit Caballero is
Mhm.
also in the is also there as another mandatory who Frank also has under his books right about now. Then, so what that does is that gives Daniel a nice little soft touch to come back to, because let's be honest, that is not going to be a competitive fight between him and Chisora at this point in time. But it's going to put more miles on Usyk's clock, who again, 38, he'll be pushing closer towards 39. Joseph Parker will not be an easy night's work. That will likely go 12 rounds, however it kind of plays out. More
Okay.
wear and tear on him. Daniel gets a nice little fresh touch, gets to be active, and then they can go into that unification with Daniel having more of an opportunity to take on the aging contender. And then even if, for instance, you say, okay, well, he dispatches of Joseph Parker in a nice way, you've still got Cabello there, and then you can get that mandatory enforced, put a little bit more on the old man, and then you get Daniel in after that. There's a lot of
There's lots of options.
options there. That's sort of my prediction of how they're looking to play this out. I don't like it. I don't think. I hope to high heaven that I'm wrong, because as much as I like Derek and as much of this resurgence as he's been on, that is not a fight he needs in his life, nor do we need to see. But they've said that Daniel's next fight will be in the UK. That's what tells me that's what makes me believe it has to be Chisora, because they're not going to put him in against Cabello. They're not going to put him in against Parker in the UK. Too much money. Chisora, you can do that. That's
You know
my
what? That
feeling.
makes sense. You know,
That's my
you might not like it, but to be fair, that makes more sense than what the original one was.
Yeah, and
which is
it'll be,
nasty.
it'll be interesting because it'll be like, now listen, Base, the kid. Now we're fighting Derek. Yeah, you know what he done to me. I know his DNA. Yeah, and so I have got
Oh
Daniel,
wow!
and now I've got
Leave
Daniel
Bonks alone,
the
man.
young stud, and he's going to dismantle Derek Chisora because he left me when I built him from scratch.
That is a really good impression. Shout out Don Charles, though.
No, shout out Don Charles, but he's gonna go down the DNA route
You
again.
reckon it's going to be really personal? Well, it is, isn't it? Because Derek Chisora was his baby.
Yeah, that
Like
was.
he said, he fling out Anthony Joshua for Derek, didn't he?
Yeah. So it goes deep. So man,
I like it, but I'm
What,
telling you, that is very likely to be the next steps.
you know what? I love the base. I can't. Now that you've said that, I can't even see it working any other way. If I'm honest. But that's just the way it is, isn't it? That's just the way it is. I'm a little bit worried about Hergovich fighting Joel Joyce, but I know things sometimes can turn on its head with Joel Joyce. I'm particularly nervous about that fight as well.
Yeah, but you see that one. I mean, as much as it could turn on its head. I mean, he could have quite easily lost to Dillian White and vice versa. At the minute, neither of those two are anywhere near the title picture scene, so they're
True.
just about having fun scraps and making a
Yeah.
bit of money.
Yeah.
Whereas Chisora, obviously, we're forgetting. Well, I'm not forgetting, but other people. He's said, "Look, I've got one more fight. I
He
want to
did.
get to that
50.
50."
Yeah.
He said he wants it back in the UK,
Tottenham, he
but
said.
now it's easy. The narrative can be the final hurrah. Can he win the world title when his very last attempt and last fight, all that stuff, and that the public will eat it up and they'll
Of course,
pay
I will.
for it, even though they know it should not be happening, and all the hardcores and everyone else is gonna be like, this is a shit show and a mockery, but it's gonna sell, and it's gonna sell and it will do Tottenham Hotspur
Yeah,
Stadium
but that's where
well,
he wants it.
all of that. It's
So
yeah.
what happened to the African Dream though?
He fobbed that one off. He said
No,
they
he
ain't got
said, no.
Okay.
PR.
said they ain't got no infrastructure right now. He said maybe like in some years down the line, but not right now.
Okay, fair enough. I hear that.
So yeah. Any other thoughts on the heavyweight landscape and how
No,
things are shaking up?
you've just got me thinking. What about Did Eddie mention Anthony Joshua in something recently as well?
Yeah, he said that he's injured and
He's
that
got
he
some
won't
niggles.
he won't be able to get into even full training until for about a month.
I
Said
wonder
he
if he's
can't.
still with Ben Davison.
From what I know, he is.
I've heard he's still there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've heard he's
okay.
still there. So, but yeah, I guess it's obviously a significant injury because this niggles thing has been said for a couple of months now. So, hey, maybe he's had some kind of surgery that was probably needed to be done, you know, ages ago, and he's finally got round to it. You know, our fighters sort of put things off, and then when you kind of have a chance, you do finally get round to it. So, yeah, probably something to do with that, I imagine. Somewhat
Hmm.
McTasty.
Right. So, I guess with all that heavyweight stuff out of the way, there's two other things we can kind of talk about. We can talk about what's happened the weekend fights. We could talk about Piers Morgan with Connor and Chris. Um, if there's anything else to put on the docket, where
Should
should
we
we
do the
go?
fights first?
Yeah, cool.
Should
Let's
we
do
do
the
the fight
fight.
and then end it up on Connor and that?
Okay, cool.
Because I think that's a high to end on, isn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, like neither fight card was anything special.
Oh, I miss the American one completely.
Well, to be honest, it's funny you say that because the American fight card was actually on at the same time as the English one.
Was it?
Yeah, it didn't. It finished. The final fight, I think, finished at like 1 o'clock. Obviously, they had the daylight savings thing, but they started it early. I went on to the zone at like 1:30. I was playing the computer game. I was turning off the game to
Yeah.
go on it. Then it said, "Oh, replay full event." I'm
Oh
like, "What?"
wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
it was an early thing. But
Wow.
yeah, look, let's talk about Nick Ball in Liverpool with Ball Ache being the title of the show. Let's go to the main event because the undercard was what it was.
Mm.
We'll address that in small quantities, but I guess from my perspective, I said before I'm a little bit tired of all of these marking time fights for Nick Ball at the moment. You
What do you
know,
mean? What do you mean?
it's marking time fights. If the Ronnie Rios fight,
Yeah.
TJ Doheny, like these are not the kind of fights you're supposed to be in, like as the champion, either be fighting like the top contenders or be trying to unify. Now I do know that currently there are two champions who have other commitments, but
Okay.
they didn't have other commitments when the fight was made. They're doing the whole TJ Doheny thing to say, oh, well, who did it better between him and the New Way? But ultimately, Doheny was a shot fighter 4 years ago. He did quite well over in Japan. Managed to extend his career out a little bit, but he wasn't fighting like the best of the best guys over there. But he
Mm.
managed to craft a little market over there. Got beat up by a New Way, seventh round stoppage. And so you're like, okay, let's do it better. Let's see who does it better. Not only do you go longer with him, but you actually get touched up. It's not a real good look. Same with the Ronnie Rios fight. What was supposed to be a routine victory, like getting touched up again, like busted up, bloody nose, like going life and death. Yes, you knocked him down 3 times. Obviously, got
Mm.
the ultimate finish, but it's these are just not the fights that we need you to be in, and it's just a lot of like basically like holding patterns, just hoping that a new way can come up so that you can get that shot. No, there's three other champions at 126 that you need to clean up to prove that you deserve that shot when he does eventually move up there. You can't just claim to be the guy just because you're the only one that's doing the headliners or selling out your own, sort of in your own city. That's not reason enough at this point. Like there's more work that needs to be done. Um, I don't know if it's the case they don't want to pay for good opponents on Queensbury at this point in time. Everyone said, "Oh, well, he deserved, a little gimme fight because he had three very hard back-to-back fights." Well, even when you say that, I mean, Isaac Dogbe, very good fighter, obviously, but he
Mm.
was, coming up. He was, he's more of a faded shell of where he was. So yes, it was a comfortable
And that,
fight.
yeah, his
It was a
name.
hard fight on paper, but it wasn't that hard of a fight in that sense. Then obviously you had the Vargas fight, which was maybe hard on paper, but you was a mandatory. Okay, you got your title shot. Then you had the Ray Ford fight, which I'm not going to go into again, as you guys know my thoughts on that. But
Yeah.
again, even if that was a hard fight, you got two back-to-back title shots. Like that's so you should be in hard fights if that's the case. And since then, you've been in two very low level defenses, in my opinion.
Mm.
You've got a mandatory that's been called, but obviously now they're trying to see if they can fight Stephen Fulton to see if they can do a unification there. But it is ironic that they could try and go to the unification with the lightest punching guy in the division. I mean, that's also very
Engineering, base
yeah, that's
engineering.
that's it's very telling. But he is also the one that is free.
I
Uh,
like that fight though.
Um, Also, just to address the comment by CN in the chat, he was not robbed in the Vargas fight. It was a legit draw. He lost 7 rounds. Um, it's only for the two knockdowns have we even managed to even it up. But that being said, yeah, it was, and outside of that, the fight itself, no, it was okay. It was a cool fight in totality, but he got made to look very, very bad at times by Dehaney, which was impressive, I guess, by Dehaney. But you're supposed to be winning this fight quite comfortably, yet you felt the need to foul on multiple times. Very lucky to not get disqualified. Very lucky to only get 1 point taken off in the entire fight, and that was after you like fouled about 3 or 4
What
times.
what was the other fouls base? Because I only saw obviously when my man had him in a headlock after the bell and was holding his neck that he like put the boot in.
But he
Yeah,
threw
so
him
he,
on the floor a
he
couple
kicked
times.
him and then he threw him down with the judo throws that he
Oh,
likes to
did
do
he?
on several occasions as well.
I told you what happened to me in it, so yeah.
Yeah, he's. But the thing is, I don't understand why he gets away with that constantly. There's a difference between roughhouse tactics, and even to one of the times when he knocked down Vargas, he literally threw Vargas off of his feet, and then as Vargas's feet was hitting back on the canvas, is when he caught him with the shot, which is what knocked him over. But he didn't have no balance at that point. But it's like you constantly hear throwing people about. It's not judo. That,
Big up Nick Ball, man. Big up Nick Ball.
It's
Listen,
it's it's no, but the thing is, it's like, yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a violent sport, it can be violent and all of that, but the rules on, there's grappling, there's clinching of a certain level. You can hold a little bit, but judo throwing is not a part of the sport. Go into MMA if that's what you want to do. If you want to kick a man in his backside when he's not looking good, that's MMA. That's not boxing, and he
yeah,
does it all the time.
yeah, but that's because TJ Dehaney was guillotining him and wouldn't let go of the chokehold.
But he did let go of it eventually.
Eventually,
That was way
it was
after the
still
bell,
after
though.
the bell.
Way after.
So then
I would have been pissed as
push
well
him
if I'm
like.
honest.
But
I think
but
that's
then put so you're condoning someone
no,
using
look,
their feet in a boxing match.
No, I don't
Using,
condone
I'm
that.
not condoning headlocks. I'm not condoning any of it, but he was holding on to his neck for a while. We talk about after the bell. Remember, like with them two last week. What was it?
Donovan.
Paddy
Donovan
Donovan and
and that
Crocker.
was like after this was after the bell.
Yeah,
He had him in the headlock.
Yeah, but
I'd have been
he
pissed
had
as
him he
well.
had him there, cool. But guess what? Let the referee deduct a point. But then you kick it. But then the referee doesn't do anything.
Well, he had
Yeah,
a
okay, he
word.
talked to them at the start of the next round. No, that should be a point. That's an illegal strike after the bell. If we're going to talk about the headlock,
Yeah, but it's like as Mr. Junior says, he got even in it. He got even.
to then get even
Two
in the
wrongs don't
round.
make a right, but yeah,
If
I
you're gonna
know.
no, but if you're gonna
it's,
get even in the round smartly. That wasn't smart what he done.
it's like I think somebody put it in there. He needs to learn how to deal with his frustration, and
Yeah,
that was frustration. Like you said, if he's throws Vargas on the floor, or whatever, that's a frustration issue, isn't it?
yeah. But I think also remember, I think it probably
At least
boiled
he's not
over.
biting them.
I think it boiled over from the weigh-in where he pushed TJ, and then TJ like he proper flung security off him. Though I give Dehenny that he flung it and nearly got to him, but yeah, then he got grabbed, and so it was. I think that it was boiling over from there because it was at the first round when this all happened. So
Yeah, he was very early,
it was
very
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 early. So I
early.
think it boiled
But
over from the weigh-in.
he's
Mm.
just lucky. At the end of the day, okay, I get it. He's one of the sort of the guys he can sell in Liverpool, and he's a bit of a name over there, so he gets protected. Because I
Yeah,
guarantee you, if it was the other way around, do you think that the opponent wouldn't have got a point off or a disqualification for kicking someone after the bell, mind you, not during the match? No,
Yeah, they got a point off. I don't think they would have disqualified because it's first round. They took a point though off of TJ if he kicked him. Um, but yeah, my opinion on the fight, I thought it was good. Interesting to see Nick Ball wearing winning gloves this time,
I didn't even clock that.
not the usual Reyes, and he was putting the punches together, but he was not sort of loading up with the power
He was
shots
boxing.
yeah, and he was putting them in clusters, but it
Yeah, he
didn't
was
look like he
boxing.
was really putting the heat on him. But it was busting him up nevertheless over a duration of time. Good uppercuts on the inside,
He was boxing.
as he does, throws man around and roughs man up, and yeah, that's it. That's what he
Strong,
does. Isn't it?
strong little man, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a strong brother. Listen, if he was the same size as Tyson Fury said, God made him 5'3" for a reason. Because if he was 6'5",
Mm.
then man would all have something to be very, very worried about. Because he looks he can get very violent in there because he mash up Fury's little cousin. But yeah, he stopped him. Yeah, he didn't get the job done as well as Inui, but who it's very unlikely many could. So, but Dehenny, he had a good, as you said, base. He had a good run. He had, what was it, like 4 wins out in Japan, which set up his fight with Inui. So
Good
it's a good,
boxer.
it's a good name. So I know you're
Mm.
saying, oh, it's not the elite names, but it was good enough for
Boxer.
Inui to fight him. So Frank's saying, well, let's see if we can have a little go at that. But yeah, it is
he
time
was a
to have.
mandatory for a Nui. He was nothing here. He was at a different weight class as well.
Yeah,
It's not the same thing at all.
but then yeah. Well, now let's see him do some unifications. Um, as you said, what's his name?
The Fulton fight.
Stephen Fulton. A
I
man who
like that fight.
got his Timberland deal now. So yeah, but I don't. Are you alluding to, Jason? Are you saying that Nick Paul's kind of
You
avoiding
sound muffled,
punches?
Danny.
Sorry.
Oh, you're right now. You sound a bit muffled then. That's my
Yeah.
hearing.
Are you alluding? Do you think that Nick Paul's avoiding the punches at all or something?
No, I think his team are avoiding the punches. I think if you look at Ronnie Rios, if you look at Dehaney, both guys are people that initially came up. They weren't original 126ers. And Fulton, Fulton is the only champion at the moment that is available because the other
Mm.
two have fights. But you could wait because one's fighting to start of next month and the
Mm.
other one's fighting in the start of May. You could wait, but Fulton doesn't have a fight. But Fulton, we know, is not a puncher. So if anything, that's going to be a boxing match first, and Inoue gets, then Ball gets to do his wrecking ball stuff. He gets to get on the inside and grab and throw and blah blah blah, all of that stuff that he wants to do with very little risk of getting hurt on the inside. And I think that's a strategic move by the team, not him personally. I don't think he's got any worries about it, but we saw what Ray Ford done to him, a weight drained Ray Ford with his punching. So I don't think they really want to test it if they don't have to. That's the
Well,
opinion.
but Vargas was,
Mm.
a good puncher as well, and
Mm,
long lead.
Vargas ain't. He's okay. He's not like, yeah.
So what do you think? So
And you
what?
don't forget, Vargas was out of the ring for over a year. So
So what punches do you saying that out of the other champions who you rate as a real big puncher out of the other two? Then
out of the other, Angelo Leo and Rafael Espinoza, both of them are very big punchers.
okay,
Angelo Leo, especially at 126, ever since he moved up from 122,
but
he's
then
a very big puncher.
if Nick Ball wrecks him, you'll be saying he moved up again. So you'll always say
No,
they moved.
no, because no, Angelo Leo's been there for about 3 or 4 fights at this point, and he beat the reigning champion. He beat Bernardo Lopez, knocked him out cold for the belt.
Okay,
So that's a quality scout.
okay. Well,
If he
I'm just
beats
getting that
him
on
or
record
beats
because
Rafael Espinoza, I've got no criticism. All right, now you deserve an Inoue fight if he comes up because you've proved that
Let's
you're
see
the
what
best in the
happens.
division.
okay,
Right
fair
now,
enough.
you don't deserve an Inoue fight for doing what you've been doing since, in my opinion, being gifted the belt.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I just wanted to get that out there because I don't want the isms and schisms of who came up a weight. Because I believe in Nick because that's my guy, man. That's my guy.
Cool.
I
Let's talk about the undercard then.
The undercard. Do you want to go October?
was about to say I've got to put my hands up. I'd started to watch the Kane versus Edwards fight, and I'm so sorry I fell asleep, and I really feel terrible about that. And I woke up and it was midnight, and I'd missed it all the other fights.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, apologies. I literally, yeah,
Yeah. All I will say is that is a
Yeah.
very interesting approach to the fight by Charlie Edwards. I've never seen him box like that before. Normally, I'm
On
not
the
sure.
back foot, it was just 100% on the. From what I saw before I fell asleep, was that he was on the back foot, and it was Kane that was trying to cut the ring off and trying to pin him down.
Yeah,
That's what I saw.
yeah. I'm not saying that he's some like face first fighter or nothing, but he definitely comes forward, Charlie, in every fight I've seen him in. At some point, even
Mm,
but this fight, he was more boxing like Sonny to a degree. Um,
mm.
very much on the back foot, which was
But
very strange. I know Kane knocked out 13 out of 14 opponents. Some people ringing me up saying or voice noting me saying they felt Charlie was prang at the words they were using.
really,
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I don't know. But yeah, it was a strange performance. Maybe he felt something early and he didn't. I don't know. But yeah,
look
that
what
wasn't.
Tony said, because Tony's not usually this sharp, critical. So if he's saying that, that says it all.
Oh no, he's usually that critical.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Frank Warren was upset about what was it? They gave a knockdown. Um,
With the shoe,
yeah,
when he stood on his foot.
the shoe thing.
But wasn't that the Jack Strand fight on Enoch Baluto?
Was it that fight?
Oh,
Yeah,
you know what?
that
Yeah, it
wasn't
was.
Kane and Edwards.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it was that was the wrong fight. But yeah, no. But the cards were close, even though Charlie Edwards was fighting so negatively. I would say the fight was still close on the cards. But I don't understand why he did that, and he's probably going to kick himself a bit because if he did, have a bit more, well, desire in the way he was going about
Desire. There's
the
that
fight,
word again.
yeah, then he could have won the fight really because. But it's probably one of them things where he's probably worried early on, and when he finally probably did start to realize, you know what, I can take it. It's a bit too late by then, ain't it? So it's one of them ones. But yeah, it wasn't an enjoyable fight,
Well,
was
you
it?
got to remember, Charlie was initially like he was a flyweight,
Mm-hmm.
112, moving up to, and now fighting at 118. So he would have been very cautious of the fact that Kane is a very big 118 pounder. Which is one of the reasons I said that I thought that he would be very fiddly and try to just use his experience to box and outbox Kane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't expect it to be that level of not running. I don't want to call it running, but that level of negativity.
It was very
I don't know
negative.
what the judges. I wasn't watching the fight strongly enough to be able to say if their scorecards were correct. I tuned out. I was watching bits and pieces. I thought, wow, this is the first couple of rounds. I thought, okay, cool. You get your measure making, blah blah blah, and then
Yeah.
after that, like I was sort of in and out, and he was just doing the same thing until maybe sort of like round 6-7 ish, where he had to slow down a little bit. And I thought, okay, cool. Then when I started seeing scorecards from Frampton, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm watching. I wasn't scoring it enough. And then when it ended up being a split decision at the end, I thought, oh, okay, that's very strange. But I mean, the only problem I think Charlie's done himself, him and Sonny was in the corner like, oh look,
Yeah.
that's boxing, like trying to G him up. But unfortunately, based off of that performance, you may never get work again.
Yeah, he's a Wasserman fighter as well, isn't he? Now.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to move over to GBM and maybe use his star power name of Edwards to try and get fights, because you'll never get another fight on a Queensbury card or a Matchroom card or a boxer card off of that performance. Like, you had to win that fighting like that to get another shot.
Mm.
Brutal, isn't it?
It's unfortunate.
Well, yeah, it's the game.
That's why they always say sometimes it's better to be entertaining than
And lose.
victorious,
For real.
because at least a victorious can that can change, but being entertaining is always a commodity.
Yeah, for real. These are in the chat going wild. Uncle Frank, Skyline, and here he is. So Skyline at AK Star Fox says Uncle Frank is not giving him any more fights based on that performance, which obviously echoed what you said. Shout out to Bon Scott, who's very complimentary of the turkey teeth. It's like a row of headstones. Yeah, and Alco has said good evening to you. I ain't seen you for a minute. Saying that Edwards has forgot he's in the entertainment business. It's tough.
Yeah. Shout out to Jack Turner on the undercard. I mean, they said it was a step up fight for him. I don't know.
He's all right, isn't he, little monster?
I mean, he's exciting. I give him that, but I don't think.
But that's what we need.
Well, yeah, but there's Abdullah Mason is exciting, but you can see that there's a little technical master in there.
He'll get there.
Turner's very wild. Anytime I've seen him fight, he's just very wild.
He'll tune up, man. He's still young, baby.
Some of that stuff is fundamental. That you revert to type. That's his type, to try and get you out of there at all costs. Swinging from the torso, wide hooks, no defense, not protecting the chin. All it takes is one person, one counter, and you're gonna get triple the force, because the way you're swinging and the way that they're coming back at you, we need to hope that he's got a granite chin.
Yeah, it's pub man like the way he fights. Yeah, it's pub man. It's very wild. It doesn't. It's like I can't see how they would work on him fighting like that in the gym. Like, he couldn't be hitting pads like that, surely.
I mean, don't get me wrong. In terms of excitement, like, yeah, if you've got him in terms of you want him to be like your next big star, I don't know if he's going to be able to have that in the locker based on the fighting style. But if you just want to have someone that's like what they call in wrestling a depth guy, someone that you can put on the show, and that they're gonna give value for money, entertainment, then yeah, he could fill that role most definitely. But I would assume the goal for young Jack Turner is to actually be a champion and to be like one of the next guys down at, I think that's a flyweight or super fly. So yeah, they're gonna have to do a lot of work on that one. We'll see.
I think somebody's just hold on, where's it gone? Is Smith training Edwards? No, he's trained by what's his name? Josh Taylor's trainer.
What more?
No, what's his name now?
You had to train the person.
Yeah, it's not Smith. Put it that way.
Okay.
I can't. His name's just slipped my memory.
It's not Jamie Moore.
No, it's not. Nah. It's something. It's Max something. I think. Can't remember. But he's Josh Taylor's trainer. I think Scouser as well.
Okay. Yeah.
What, McNally?
McNally. There you go.
Oh.
Thanks.
Okay.
I knew I'd get there in the end.
Joe McNally. Okay, fair enough. Well, we'll see what they can do with him. There was what's his name? Is it Javier Herrera, the Cuban guy
He
that
was
was
getting
also
touched up
on
a
the
bit
card?
as well.
Yeah. Um, he's also trained by Joe McNally.
Nally, yeah.
So don't know.
Defense.
Maybe they don't train it.
I reckon they do.
Maybe I mean no, because if you think about it, look at
Josh
what's his name?
Taylor.
No, not Josh Taylor. I'm thinking of um, what was Pacquiao's trainer?
Freddie Roach.
Freddie
Yeah,
Roach, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he's not really a defense type guy. It's a lot about the offense and the precision strikes. A bit like Robert Garcia. Some don't really train
Okay.
defense like that. You have a bit of the fundamentals, but it's all about that pressure and that attack. So maybe they are more so in that field of they want to, they train you for that seek and destroy more so than they train you to keep your hands up and to be smart and look for those openings. So
Stephen Smith trains Charlie Edwards. All right, then maybe I got that wrong. I thought it was McNally in his corner. I must be tripping.
all
Okay.
right, Tony. I know Nally definitely trains Javier Herrera.
Okay. And definitely trains Josh Taylor.
Okay. So yeah, because I
Who's
know,
going up against the engine.
yeah,
EE.
yeah, because I know Stephen Smith also trains Hamza Udin.
Does he?
Yeah,
The one
yeah,
Oh,
from
yeah,
Warsaw?
yeah,
his favorite.
yeah. One of my favorite prospects, one of my favorite little prospect. Yeah, but yeah. Well, let's see how that bodes out and gets on. But I think it's fitting. We're probably ready for the main event of the evening.
Well done. So we're not gonna give any shine and
Oh yeah,
applause.
sorry, I forgot. Oh my god, the American card.
Ammo, you got Ammo. You had Edgar Berlanga over there in
See,
his.
you got going after, yeah, because I didn't watch that at all. Soz.
Well, the Edgar Berlanga one, that was only one round, so it's not much to see. If
Dude,
you,
the guy had a shape worse than Tyson Fury.
yeah, he's the fattest 12 stone man I've seen in my life. I like if you look at him, like yeah, that's
You know, he used to campaign at 154.
yeah, which
10
is
years in jail for armed robbery. Came out last year, had two fights, and then that's who Edgar Berlanga wants to face. I'm telling
Who?
you,
This kid
his,
that he just
his
boxed.
name's Gonzalez Ortiz.
Fair play to
yeah,
him.
yeah, it's Puerto Rican.
Fair
Uh,
play.
done
Yeah,
a
no
done a big
fair play. That I'm sorry, Edgar
So he's come out of
Berlanga.
jail for armed robbery, had two fights, and gone into this one.
Yeah, but that's not because he earned it. That's because Edgar Berlanga is a charlatan and a ginnels. That's what Edgar Berlanga is. He, I don't know how he managed to finesse the Canelo fight, yeah, but ever since that, he's been moving like he's top dog, and he was moving like top dog from before then. Hence why he couldn't get on with the people at top rank.
yeah, he was
He
yeah
is, he is a
Yes.
charlatan.
no
I like Caleb for him.
he, well he don't want Caleb. He's talking about he wants Charlo and
Now he said Caleb, Charlo, and
Okay.
Munguia. That he said that's the three fights he wants.
okay. Well,
I'm
someone spoke
telling you,
to
two out of those three guaranteed beat him.
well, what's his name?
Mm.
Caleb said that. Balanga said that Charlo Munguia is more suitable for what he's more looking at rather than Caleb, even though he was cussing Caleb. But I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
Yeah, I was about to
possibly. He
say that
probably
on
feels
site.
like Caleb's the hardest out of the three, and Caleb is also, I believe, the oldest of the three. So you kind of
Interesting.
you make him you let him take a little bit more wear and tear if he does have another fight or two, or you keep him on the shelf a little bit longer. Then
Mm.
you take that one. But he's got power. Yes, he's but there's nothing else there apart from like a good promo.
What was he moaning about to Eddie about? Because I've, like I said, I didn't watch the presser, but I've seen like a couple of interviews to shout out to. I think it was IFL when they said, What did he say? What did he say
Right, so
about
he
Eddie?
was
Was he moaning
angry
about?
because he wanted to headline this last fight in Puerto Rico against William Skull. So I'm assuming it must have been for the IBF that he was hoping he could get.
Okay.
Now, in the deal that they had, he had a free fight deal with Matchroom, but in
Mm.
the contract it was written that if he loses to Canelo, they have to give him a comeback fight as
Okay.
part of the deal. So he wanted that fight in Puerto Rico. Apparently, William Skull wanted $3 million to do the fight. Obviously, that's not including what Edgar Berlanga would want. It took a while for them to sort of try and get it all even sorted out. Eventually, the numbers didn't work. They couldn't do it. They was trying to offer in some other fights. They said
Mm.
no, and then they said, okay, well, look, ultimately the contract is the contract. Like you get a comeback fight, but
Yeah.
it's it will just be on the undercard. That's what it says in the contract. That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
And then they got him this fight, but he's upset, saying apparently that he doesn't want to be dictated to. Like he's a, they can be partners. Like no, he ain't got no boss, and da 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 da. Whereas the actual fact is, they wanted to have this big fight, overpay him, you know, possibly lose money, but have no obligations. Because remember, they said that, well, we could possibly do that fight for you, but you're kind of gonna have to re-up the contract because we don't think that fight's gonna generate any money,
Yeah.
and we don't exactly want to lose money, and then you go off elsewhere to another promotion. So it's like, okay, well now we'll do something that's within the budget rather than going above and beyond the budget. And Eddie's saying, ultimately, look, you want to be a partner, that's
Mm.
fine. But then you guys, if you're going to be a partner, you got to share in the risk. Like if the show loses money, you've got to be prepared to lose money too. Like it can't just be, oh, your
Correct.
your name's on the banner, but you're being paid a wage, because then you're not really a partner anyway. Because they said
Mm,
a lot
I
of
hear
boxers
that.
got promotional companies, but they ain't actually doing promoters work. They just want to put their name on a logo
yeah.
and reap the benefits and not take any of the risks associated. So that was kind of
Yeah.
the
Okay, that
situation.
makes sense.
Yeah, and part of the deal on the contract it did say he would come back on a undercard, but then he's saying I shouldn't be no chief support or on the undercard to anyone. I should be the main event.
Yeah, God.
Then he's moaning about the money, and Eddie Hearn's like, "Well, you've made $12 million with me. Why are you moaning about money for? Like, let's
How
not have
many fights was he doing better before on his other promo company, or has he done better since he's been with Matchroom?
No,
Matchroom
he's better with Matchroom.
top
Top
So
rank.
rank
what's the
never paid
problem?
him that. Top
Bob
rank,
ain't gonna
top rank
pay him.
don't pay nobody.
Bob ain't paying him for them 1 round blowouts.
Eddie signed it. I know what Eddie signed him for initially. It was to try and feed him to Diego Pacheco. But I will give Edgar Berlanga credit in the fact that he's very smart. He knew that's what he was getting signed for. He said, no, 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 no. Like, give me these little get back fights, these little introduction fights. We'll
Mm.
headline these. Then obviously the Canelo thing comes in,
Yep.
and then he hits the lottery. And as soon as that happens, all right, well, cool, I'm good. That's all it was. But that was the whole point. Um, he should have been there purely just to raise Pacheco's profile.
Yeah,
I like
um,
Pacheco.
That was
yeah,
never a good investment for her in the Matchroom.
Well, we'll see what happens if he gets anything else now.
Well, apparently he wants to sign with MVP Promotions.
Oh dear God.
You
Oh,
know
that's
that they're gonna,
painful.
they'll be on Netflix. It's a Puerto Rican thing with, you got Amanda Serrano,
Yeah. All
Jake
right, that's
Paul,
fine then. All
Jake
right,
Paul.
Rosal,
fine.
you've got, what's her name? Rosales, I think, is the girl that she's touting at the minute. And obviously Jake Paul is based out in Puerto Rico. So yeah, it's very much, you can kind of see that, especially if
Okay.
they do have those Netflix, he knows that he can make bread for very little work.
You
So
know
we're doing
what?
a charlatan.
Okay, well, if he's doing it, if that's his hustle, that's his hustle. You know that you mentioned Netflix. What if
Yeah,
TKO go on to there? Because they said they were looking for a part. I know I'm drifting off again.
They won't,
All right. Okay.
because
Why?
no one in that on their promotion is going to be big enough for Netflix to be interested in currently. And they
I'm not writing it
ESPN
on face.
ESPN need content. They've lost quite a bit of content as of late, so they will more likely give them bona fide dates. And because it's a US thing that they're trying to do more so than a global. they're more likely to go to a guaranteed terrestrial network where they can get eyes. And TKO, Dana and that have already got a relationship with ESPN. They already know how they work, they know how they operate and do the budgets and stuff. So it's familiar.
Yeah.
They won't go to Netflix. They won't do everyone. Like
No, I don't think they'll do everyone, but I don't know.
they'll do one-off events. I don't think they're going to commit to
Oh,
this with like
we'll
local
see.
no-name talents.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Money talks, in it. We'll see. We'll see. I
Yeah,
think Netflix are gonna
the money's got
really.
to be worth it.
I
Yeah.
think Netflix are going to invest in boxing, but we'll see.
I don't know because
I think they'll do
there's a
one-off
lot
events.
of shows and a lot of even comedians who don't get specials and stuff like that on Netflix. You've got to really be getting them their numbers and their subscribers for you to get. I don't think the roster is going to be strong enough to warrant a Netflix
We'll
deal.
see.
Did you guys see the Keith Thurman one time?
No.
Yep.
What did you think of that? Because I thought that was quite impressive.
I mean, the uppercut was impressive. He had a couple of good counters. There was a bit of the one time left in there, but you could see, the time out of the ring has been very much has affected him to a degree, but as it should. But a perfect person to get back in there with, someone that was a former super bantamweight. That's decided just to bodybuild themselves up to 154 pounds. Can't take a punch above 135. Plus, when you've got the kind of power that Furman has possessed in the past, I mean, yeah, it was a recipe for disaster. And Red, you got to start watching these fights.
I know. You know me and my late night stuff.
It
No,
was
but
in
the
the
watch
morning.
back. It was that was a midday. That was your time, October.
I don't know then.
Yeah, no excuse for this one.
I don't know. I don't know.
Terrible.
It was the day before when
We did the live.
yeah
It was
because
on Wednesday.
I would have done the live for it, but I had to do a top up.
Gosh, I could have done a watch along.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
could
could
have.
have.
See,
My
slipping.
bad.
It started at about 7 in the morning, base.
Oh, that would have been perfect for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to check these global schedules then.
Well, in future, I'll let you know.
Yeah, the daytime ones. I'd
Yeah,
love that.
I normally try to do those ones when I can. But
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, I'll let you know because that's more up your street.
But yeah, to bring it back to where we were briefly before we move on to the final things, Ammo Williams beat Patrice
Oh,
Vonley.
I'm happy for Ammo.
I'd never seen anything of Patrice before. All I knew is that he was massive, very tall, sort of wiry, but a very big guy. Very similar actually to Hamza Shiraz in terms of, I
Okay,
guess,
he's built.
dimensions and stuff. So yeah, look, it was a good performance. Ammo had some hairy moments in there, but he also did some very good work. I enjoyed it. I thought it was it was a good fight for him back on his rebuild, his second fight back since the Shiraz
Mm-hmm.
defeat, and he says that he wants Erislandy Lara next. Good. Well, he said he wants all the champions, but I think the most realistic first off would be Erislandy Lara. Good luck to him if he can get it. PBC don't really like to play
Mingle.
ball with others, but good luck.
Yeah, good luck to him. I like him. Nice kid. Met him personally when he had his cat's tail on. That was weird, but anyway, but he was lovely. Really lovely guy.
Yeah, he was walking
Really.
around Saudi with that the whole time, even in the dining room. It was very strange, but he seemed harmless.
He's quirky, isn't he? But
Yeah,
he's nice. Nice kid. Nice kid.
I just remember when I saw him. When did I speak to him? AJ, Joshua, and Franklin at the press. Was it
Oh,
the press conf? No, it was the. I think it was the public weigh-in. I remember I saw him there. In his flip flops, looking with the angry eyes. Good
Jump,
old Ammo.
jumping up and down.
No, he weren't even jumping. Then he just looked very, very. I won't even say zoned in. He looked like menacing.
vacant.
No, it
Okay,
wasn't vacant. He looked very. He had the mean mug on. Like,
Okay.
okay.
yeah, he was dialed in.
Mm.
We'll see
Okay.
what happens with him. But all the best to him anyway. Eddie seems to have taken him under his wing, got a little bit of a soft spot for him. So we'll see
Yeah,
what
well,
happens
after the
there.
madness he was, I'm surprised Eddie stuck with him, but that does show good character, to be
Yeah,
fair,
it
because
does.
there was a lot, and there was a lot of words and bad words being said. And he's like, oh, okay, didn't think a lesser promoter would have just said, all right, get out then, like on your bike. But
There was issues, weren't there?
yeah, that,
Mm.
that is a good story, and now he's about to obviously be a father as well. So yeah, congrats to
Yeah,
Admiral. Um,
yeah.
good
We've
to see.
got to go to the Piers Morgan thing. It'd be rude of us not to go to that unless there's anything else that you guys want to touch on.
No, go for it.
Very good. Um, I liked it. I thought Piers was very biased towards Connor. I like the fact that Chris Eubank Jr. was able to stand on business, as we say, and make sure he got his point across clear, whether you agreed with him or not. Whatever he said, he wanted to make sure he got his point across. Um, and I like that about Chris. I like the fact that he's quite unique, but he stands on his principles and he doesn't backtrack. However, I did think that remember I'd say like the Manchester presser, the London presser. I'd say that maybe Chris Eubank was probably up on the scoreboards there. I think this time I think it switched towards Connor. I think Connor had a slightly different approach, and I think he might have slightly irritated Junior, only slightly though. But yeah, it was a good listen, and I think it was the fact that Piers was making the conversation so raw and personal by mentioning Chris's dad, which obviously is going to be a sensitive subject.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
I don't think I don't think he was biased. I think what he was trying to do, because he went back and forth with both. I think that the problem is Chris was being so Chris that he didn't basically want to acknowledge any valid points that were being made. But he said himself, "I'm
Yeah.
not about to fall into any trap that you're trying to put me in. You're not gonna lull me into any nicey. Like I'm here for my own thoughts and beliefs." Um, but I mean, look, he pressed Connor on the drug stuff, but he also then pressed Chris on the, well, you say he's a drug cheat, but if he's been cleared
Mhm.
and, obviously what, this has happened, whether you believe that the stuff
Mhm.
was there or not, do you not agree that the fact that you're fighting him means that, there must have been a positive conclusion? And Chris didn't want to acknowledge that very basic fact.
Mhm.
Um, the dad stuff, obviously, look, Connor was recycling bars. Chris came up with new stuff, and it was funny that he was gonna say that new stuff at all costs. Talking about, oh well, I mean, like father, like son. So how do we know that he wasn't X, Y, Z? And obviously, there's been those allegations
Yeah.
before. So Chris knew that what his game plan was. He didn't want to be humanized in that moment, because basically Piers was trying to humanize both as
Yeah.
well as challenge both, and Chris wanted to do things all on his terms, as Chris does.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it came across as Piers was being biased towards Connor, because all he was trying to do is, like, get him to almost agree to certain points that actually were factual. There's not like, this is opinion now, we're talking facts. Because he did the same thing with Connor. When Connor tried to put feelings in it, he's like, well, factually, can we say that there was something in your system? And Connor's like, oh, I don't want to believe that there was, but there was, though. Are you saying that that wasn't the case? He goes, well, in my mind, it wasn't. So
No, I
he
find it
pressed,
very hard to believe. I
yeah,
find it. I find it very hard to accept it or
yeah,
something like that.
he pressed both of them. I just think because Connor was more willing to engage and actually answer
Mhm.
questions than Chris was, it looked like he was getting onto Chris a lot more. That's my opinion from watching it.
Yeah, well, it would be because Chris had the barriers up,
Yeah,
so
but also,
it would look like that.
yeah, also I think why Piers, I think he did was more onto Chris, but I think also that has to do with the fact that Connor's already been on the show and been through the whole interrogation. So Pierce can't really. It's not like he's got fresh produce to really go in on Connor and interrogate him and ask him a bunch of questions because he's done a whole hour special with him already. So
Yeah.
really, it's the first time him getting Chris Jr. on. Had he got Eubank Jr. on last year and stuff as well, then it would have been an even playing field. But he would have more questions and more things he would want to know about Chris's side because he hadn't been on there like Connor has.
Hasn't he been on Piers Morgan before?
I think it's his dad.
His dad has. I don't remember him being on there.
Unless it was on the daytime TV ages ago when he was still with Good Morning. I don't know.
Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I'm thinking that's incorrect. Possibly. One thing I do think though, Chris turned it around, and I think he won. Even though obviously, look, the whole point is to not get himself out of character. But there is one thing he said, which I do think just took the entire interview.
What?
When he said that, you know, if these things are in your system, knowingly or unknowingly, you're a drugs cheat. And even if I was there and people held you down and stuck a needle in
You're
your
still a
right
drug
cheek
cheat.
and squeezed it in, and I saw it, you're still a drugs cheat because you should have never let it happen. Protect yourself at all times. When I heard that, I thought, nah, you're taking the piss. That killed it. That won the whole thing because you, like, the level of delusion to have that statement, like basically like what they say.
He doesn't care.
When they talk about obviously, sexual assault and things like that, is like they're talking about taking the power away from it. He's literally like in a level of
And
delusion.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Protect it. You can get out of it. You chose to be a victim.
You chose to be forced.
And yeah, he's
yeah.
He took it to a whole nother level, but it was hilarious.
But yeah, it seemed Chris obviously got under Connor's skin again when it was about the dad thing. Obviously, Connor ended up getting up, doing the whole twitching thing. Offered Eubank Jr. out on the cobbles, to which Junior obliged because Junior is about that street life. Well, he has been.
Interesting to hear his story though.
Whose story?
Chris, about when the dad went bankrupt and then they've gone from living in this mansion to like humble, and then he was like, "Nah, I ain't having this." No, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know his dad was bankrupt and that obviously had to switch their lifestyle. It was really interesting.
He spoke about that a couple of times.
Yeah, because he was driving around Brighton with that big, massive train truck looking thing. And then he squandered the money and that, obviously big lifestyle living. But yeah, I heard him mentioning that he was going Tesco's and stuff. Obviously,
yeah.
I imagine
that I have to budget for my food, and I was like, but I like that though because he had that hunger to say, "Nah, all right, if my dad can't sort it out, I'm gonna do it."
But
so I like that about him.
But here's the thing now. Because obviously I knew the story. I've heard him say it before, even the Tesco thing. But when he's like, I came from having money to not having money. I'm like, so now I'm never gonna go back to that. But ultimately, that then shows you that his career is not about anything other than making sure he can get the bag. And him trying to and it's a shame Maestro's not here. He tried to legitimize that he's a 3-time IBO world champion.
2-time.
No, he said 3.
I thought he said 2.
No, he had it at middle. Then he went up to super middle and won it, and now he's got it again at middle, 3-time. But he says, and then Connor said that, obviously you fought for that in the leisure centre, then you fought for it at the stadium or whatever.
No, Eubank reminded him that it was at O2. He goes, I fought for it at O2 when I beat James DeGale.
Yeah, but he said that was the second time. He goes, the first time was at the leisure centre. But he goes, as far as I don't care what anyone else says, it's legit to me. That's what he said. Now, Maestro, I'm sure, is there clapping along with him somewhere with his sick self. But
Patel will be clapping along as well because he says the same thing.
Who?
Prince Patel.
Oh well, yeah, but
yeah. So it's one of them things, isn't it? But the thing is also that Chris should have mentioned he has fought for world titles before because Piers Morgan was like, "Oh yeah, this is when the winner of this will get their first world title shot," and
Yeah.
they should have corrected him there because Eubank has fought for a world title against George Groves and lost. And he's
Didn't he just say we'll be in line for the title? Or did he actually say first? I didn't
yeah,
hear that.
he said yeah, you'll be alive for your first world title shot, both the pair of you.
Or
So
maybe he meant that to say he's talking about Connor. Maybe he thinks Connor's going to win the fight
maybe.
because Connor hasn't fought for a world title yet.
No, he's
Chris
the
has
only one
fought
that
for
hasn't.
one once against George Groves,
Mm,
if we're not counting the IBO.
yeah.
So
So yeah, maybe. But yeah, it's going to be
Maybe.
interesting. But it was interesting that um, how it went. I think they both had some good bars. Who
Yeah.
do I think won the argument? I think Eubank did because he wasn't as emotionally invested. You could see he was more taunting. You could see him smirking, and he knew how to wind up Connor when his peers was like, "Oh yeah, you said you're not going to get a hand back. What do you mean? I said what I said. What you going to do? You going to chop it off? I said
I'm
what
not
I
repeating
said.
myself.
I repeated myself." So yeah, he was on a wind up. Um, but Connor, obviously, when he's talking about people do get touchy when you're talking about their family members and stuff. So yeah, even when Connor was talking about
I hope.
senior, yeah, and all that, I hope. Obviously, Chris was like, "I know, don't try
Are you
and
taking a mick? You could
yeah,
see him like he's trying to. His cogs were going around in his brains. His
yeah,
geezer taking a piss.
you don't try and generals me." But off
Mm.
of the back of it, we've seen a statement from senior saying that he
Oh
spoke
yeah.
to Junior recently. He's seen a wisdom and twinkle in his eye that he didn't see before. He seems he's matured, and ultimately, he's got his son's back. So it's
Hopefully he'll be there.
yeah, it seemed like positive signs from their conversation they had at Harlem's fight, and
Mm.
I imagine they've been on the phone because obviously this Piers thing was obviously probably recorded prior to that conversation Chris had with his dad. So yeah, we have to bear that in mind.
okay, well if that happened, happy days, and we'll see. I know that Senior said on a couple of times he didn't expect the fight to take place, just like the last time, but maybe now maybe he's on board. Maybe he's been paid enough money to give interest. Who knows?
What do you think about the promo for that? Because we haven't really seen much of like that. When I talk about that, obviously the undercard as well. Because like you said, you still got a couple of other fights on there. Now there hasn't been any real media push around them. I know the two guys sell the fight anyway, but I was expecting. It's coming up now. It's what, just over
There,
a month
there won't
away.
be till fight week now. They'll be on the fight week press
Yeah.
conference. That'll be it. I doubt they'll get any shoulder content unless they're doing it themselves.
Yeah. Well, Pat Barrett
Fair
said he
enough.
has a surprise for Tunde when he sees him next.
Hmm.
Um,
As in what?
so he said, "Don't worry, so he's not off the card."
Zalfa's left him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he explained that. He did explain what happened with that. He said he just felt that he wasn't listening to him, so he said to him, "It's best he thinks he's taken him as far as he can, so it's best he moves on, and so he can be an uncle to him now rather than just being a trainer to him because he wants to be an uncle to him because for many years he's literally had to just be a trainer and been very hard on him and drilled and regimental rather than actually just being an uncle like when he was a kid. So he thinks rather than carry on and Zelfa might take a couple of losses or whatever, and then they fall out or whatever. The best he just tries to improve himself elsewhere. So he gave his blessing for him to he suggested he moves on, and now he's with Joe Gallagher.
Gallagher's fatting up his gym. There's a
Yeah.
couple of other people that have gone to him as well, in it.
Uh,
It's a bit of a strange one though, considering that he spends the majority of his time in Riyadh at the moment. Not Riyadh, sorry, Dubai.
Yeah,
He runs the gym out there.
yeah.
Plus, you go to Joe Gallagher when he's currently in a different type of fight. It's that's a very tumultuous time. Like, can you really be getting the best
No,
work with him? Like, are you not also taking on his stresses and struggles while you're in camp? It's it's a bit of a
does he
weird
have
one.
any assistants like other coaches in the gym?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think there's some other people that they were doing work with Natasha Jonas, and he kind of oversees. But how much can he oversee? Because obviously he's the one supposed to be masterminding the game plans and whatnot.
yep.
Mm.
I don't know how it works. I mean, I'm sure that they are making it work, but it just I personally wouldn't have been choosing him as my trainer right now, based on obviously everything that's going on and been going on. That's kind of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that being said, I mean, if the others in there can, they sort of maybe they understand the system of how everything moves, then yeah, maybe you pass the baton on to them.
Mm.
What do you think of because what you saying that Pat Barrett says he's got a surprise for Tunde?
Yeah, that's what he says. He says he's got a surprise for when he sees him.
Why don't you
Interesting.
speculate as to what you think it might be, Red?
God knows. When was the last time Lyndon had a fight? It was against Liam
Liam
Cameron,
Cameron.
and
Yeah.
that was ages ago.
September, I think.
September. So when did Yard have his last fight? When did Yard
Wasn't
fight?
that December? I think.
Okay, so all right then they're maybe not that too far apart from each other.
Yeah.
We'll see. Like I said, the fight I'm looking forward to is the Sheriff Clark Vidal Riley fight, other than the headline. But
Mm.
surely they've got to put another fight on that card. It'd be
Why?
nice to see if they could sneak Richard on there. I don't know who he'd fight though.
Mm.
No, the card don't need that many fights.
Well, there's only 4 on there, isn't there?
Yeah, four's good enough.
4's good enough.
A
Yeah.
full fight card.
Oh, it was October was the last time Yard fought.
October. Okay. Oh, so
Yeah.
they're similar time then.
Oh wait, no, the Cameron fight was in June.
Yeah,
I
because that was
thought it was
that
ages
was,
ago.
that was
Yeah.
the day before Tyler Denny versus Felix Cash. I remember because I was watching it in the
Yeah.
Before.
yeah. It's the day before. Yeah.
Interesting. But we'll see. We will see. Guys, I don't know if there's anything else from you guys, but I think that'll be it for this evening.
Yeah. No, nothing else I can think of.
No, just everyone who is watching, whichever platform you are joined in, whether it was Twittex, whether it's our YouTubes, in the description boxes, you will see the Fight Talk live channel in there. If you're not already subscribed to that one, please subscribe to it. It will look different, hopefully, the next time you see it with its own graphics, logos, banners, and all that good stuff as it did previously. Um,
I need to get on
yeah,
that.
tune into all of our, obviously, if you're not joined all of our Twittex accounts, you'll be able to find those all within the videos as well. So just basically support the team, and the team will carry on doing the great and amazing content that we are putting together for you guys. But we appreciate everyone who has been interacting in the chat. We have been kind of looking in and out briefly, but yeah, it's always appreciated when you guys are here and around, and we don't take it for granted.
When's the next fight card?
Next week
Who's on?
Who's,
it's
who's...
George Kambosos.
Oh, right, it's Australia.
Yeah,
When's the next one in the UK? Oh,
the
is it
week
the 5th?
after.
So it's the
No,
5th.
the week after. It's the 29th.
Who's on that card? I'm just trying to
It's a
think.
matchroom card in.
Oh, is it Pat Brown?
Is it
Connor
the?
Tudsbury?
No, I don't think it's that one.
No, it's not that one.
It's
Just trying to think when there's the next UK show
it's
because it seems to be going a
more.
bit
It's the
quiet.
29th, but I can't remember who's on it.
I'll find it. I'll
Okay,
find
so
it.
day before Mother's Day. Okay.
Oh, Mother's Day. Yeah, I like flowers, guys, not funeral ones. Yes, Frankie, don't let October touch anything to do. I promise you, I will not touch anything to do with
Yeah.
any channel. But at least I admitted it. I didn't try and gaslight it. It was me. I messed up.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. It's just taking accountability. But we're here, and that's the main
Accountability, Danny. You know about that, don't you?
thing.
Oh, you know what, Danny? I feel like I'm going to do some pull-ups.
Absolutely.
Will some denim be involved? I think that's the question.
You know what? I think I've got some denim.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, unless anyone else has got anything to say, enjoy your evenings. We will be back next week. Keep the content flowing. Danny, you do your thing because I know you want to.
And there you have it, guys. It's another episode of Fight Talk Live. And remember, guys, persistence beats resistance. You know where it is. Ha ha.
Bada boom, bada boom.
And that's that.